Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Happy Tuesday. It is October 1st. We're in the saddle. And we're taking a peek. It looks like we have a gap down, small, on SPY and stuff. So we'll take a peek at how this is all shaking out today. It looks like Apple's down. Apple was pretty strong. Yeah, we're kind of getting, it's the same thing so far that I'm seeing at least. Maybe things will change today on the stream, but kind of the same chop we've been getting. Things look up. Things look down, things go up, things go back down. It's like not a lot of consistency, not a lot of follow through, as you can see very clearly by the daily chart on the S&P futures right here. I mean, look at that. Does that look very enticing to me? No, not at all. I can get rid of these lines because they are really not being, held at all anymore. It doesn't really matter. They're just kind of doing its own thing. General trajectory has been to the upside, yes, clearly, but also like just not pushing through this level right here. And it doesn't seem like it wants to completely unravel, so we just continue to play in this choppy trend to the north, which is very, very fun. So that's the S&P. Let's take a peek at how other stuff looks. QQQ. Let's take a peek at that. I mean, that does not look very fun to me. DIA. That also doesn't look very fun. IWM. Not very fun either. So when I say that, I mean not very interesting from a momentum perspective is what I mean. So yeah, that's what we got. The 10-year is now down nicely today after it was up nicely yesterday. It is now down today. So we continue to see the same exact thing that we were just talking about. The chop continues. Gold, on the other hand, is bouncing back. Silver also bouncing back from a little bit of a pullback, but still not back up to all-time highs. It's close, though. Bitcoin's about flat. Crude oil is about flat. Crude oil overnight was down a decent bit. I had an alert go off this morning early. I did not trade that, but it had an alert go off under the breakdown under 67 or so. That broke down, and then we bounced right back up. So that was a false breakdown. So again, not a lot of follow through there. So the moral of the story is not a lot of follow through is occurring across the board, and that is not the time to be trading in my system. For someone else's strategy, you absolutely could. For me, I'm not interested. I have a swing trade on Roku. The only position I am holding is on Roku right now, which is, I think, got some price target upgrades overnight or some shit like that. I don't know. Yesterday, they had some price target upgrades, so it seems like it's getting a bounce. I would love to see it, push back up at the target. We'll see. I will see if we can get that. I'll take the good chunk of it off, and then I'll take the rest off at 85. That's my plan. Stop loss at break even here, although, there's reason to believe that a stop loss underneath 71.70 is not a bad idea either, given that was a pretty decent area that we bounced off of. So I wouldn't be opposed for a stop loss there. Maybe I will move it up. We'll see how things play out. So keeping that in the back of my head, that's kind of where my mind's at on that. But that's the only position I took. I put a lot of alerts on the stream yesterday on a lot of other stocks. None have gone off yet. So we'll be waiting on them. And if they do go off, we'll take a peek at them. But if they don't, not interested. Netflix, looking back, I did get out of this one. Technically speaking, I didn't have to get out. It didn't break under 700, so I technically could have stayed in. I just did not want to hold. It just didn't look very strong going into the weekend, so I just didn't want to hold it going into the weekend. And now it actually is bouncing back up, funny enough. So maybe that'll end up panning out up towards 750s. I think that's a good spot. I just, I wouldn't really be trading it right now. It's just not a momentum trade. It's a, the market environment is just not there. So, you can kind of see the area I was looking at, but it's kind of a dud for now. Meta, new all-time highs, just made a pop today on Meta, so that's cool. Google's up 1.5, very nice move on Google. So Google and Meta, the strongest ones today. Netflix is close behind. And then after that, you got NVIDIA, which is just about flat, trying to go green, just about flat. And then AMD's behind that, or Tesla's behind that, and then AMD. Tesla continues to trend higher. Apple, funny enough, look at this. Apple was like, oh, we could break out yesterday. It had a very, very strong close. And then said, sorry. That's Apple for you, though. That has been my experience with Apple. Apple is much more of a buy the dip type of stock than a breakout stock. So I will trade it very, very sparingly for my strategy until I notice that it's really moving on the breakouts. I have not seen it do very, very well in the breakouts the past, year or so. But that could change. That's kind of how things go. The market will change. So maybe that won't be the case forever. Beef tallow on the arms after a little bit of a burn this weekend, accidental burn. And we are hopefully going to be healing it up quickly. It's funny is you kind of like I'm out in the sun a lot. Now maybe not as much as I was earlier this summer, the past couple weeks. So you got I was like, okay, it's September, end of September. We're gonna be out in the sun for like 3-4 hours. How bad could it be? On my arms, which are the area that tends to get the most sun, so they're the most used to it, and they got fucking fried. Just like yesterday, they were just like sizzling, like they were just like radiating a burning feeling for like the majority of the day. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Wear your sunscreen, kids. Although I am not a big fan of most sunscreens, make sure you know what you're putting on your skin. Ingredients matter. But either that or, slowly build a base so that you don't burn. But I'm not scared of the sun. I love the sun. Yeah, there's Netflix. I mean, I think it probably will work based off what I'm seeing. It held that level. I'm surprised it did. It held that so nice. I'm surprised it didn't give us like a big wick down and then a bounce back. To be honest with you, I feel like that would have been more on par for the market conditions, but it's looking pretty good. Above 226, there you go. Could this be, replayable? No, not for me. Based off what I'm seeing, no, it's just not the strategy. I'm not going to do that. However, if it does give us a consolidation somewhere up in here, then it's maybe playable for a different setup. So that's not really a trade for me anymore. But we'll see what happens. The only one that I got right now is Roku, so we're just chilling on this one. High day opened, or high day was at 76.62. About $4 away from my take profit, and that will be the first take profit. I will take profit at 85 because we got a gap to fill up to 87 or 86, 87. So my second take profit will be 85, but I will take the majority of the position off at 80. That's the plan. Or just around 80, 79s, 79.90s, somewhere in there would be great. So we'll see. That we shall. Otherwise, let's take a peek at what's going on elsewhere. The 10 year's down a decent bit today. 2% is a pretty big day. It's a pretty big day on the 10 year. Interesting. Very interesting. Now you would think, well, I don't like to think too much. Let's see. Home Depot. Should take a peek at other charts that I have or other stocks that I have on my radar that I tend to follow. Not very interesting here. What about the risk on players? Unity Software, by the way, is approaching our 24 area that we were saying has a very good chance of hitting at some point this year. Now the question, this is not I didn't trade this, we were just talking at, or I was talking on my ass kind of, but I was saying, at some point in here and in the past couple weeks as well, there will be a bottom that builds in at some point, and it will provide a really good bounce. Now, will this be a long-lasting bounce? I don't know, but there's a very good chance it will provide a very good bounce, and we're talking about the potential of the bounce, and the bounce we were saying, why not get back up into this zone, which is around 24, 25. So it just so happens that from the bottom, that would be approximately a 75% move, which is pretty impressive. So now you're getting that push. Now up here, is it worth? No, you're taking on way too much risk. However, I don't know if this is a long-term play, then great. Maybe it's something to be said, but I'm not surprised that bounce is occurring. How's SoFi doing these days? 10-year keeps coming down, dude. I'm going to refinance my loan soon. So I'll be doing that with SoFi. And maybe even screw SoFi if I get a better rate somewhere else. I'll go somewhere else, although they seem to be the biggest name in the space right now. That does not look very good on Snow. Honestly, it's a weak. Break under that level looks like a short. I'll put an alert on that, although very decent chance I will not trade that to the downside in this environment. There is no reason, I feel, based off my stats and based off how I trade, there is absolutely no reason to be shorting right now. For me, maybe that's different for you. Rivian, weak. Roblox, failed. I guess we can get rid of this. This is an idea. I never traded this. It was an idea that we had off the breakout of that level. I played Roku instead. I think Roku broke out first. and I liked Roku's chart better, to be honest. Although Roblox has a good chart. I mean, that the potential above that 48. I mean, I see it. But are we, should we expect that to be breaking out to the upside given the market conditions right now? I mean, probably not. Doesn't seem like the market's in that high momentum state. Some stocks, we'll get there, but others don't seem to be doing too well. Robinhood, GameStop. Why do I just have it on there for shits and giggles. Coinbase down again, coming back to that trend line. CLSK, we talked about yesterday. That does not look good. Yeah. No, it does not look good. It's a little bit weaker than Coinbase, bigger, like on the chart. It's breaking down further, faster. Yeah, every big push you try to get seemingly on these risk on trades, they just seem to kind of give it back, shortly after. At some point that may end. But it's been the situation we got going on. It's much more of a dip buy environment, much more of a let something break out or break down and then do the opposite of that, if you have to do something. But yeah, that CLSK we were saying before, right? Like, not great. Although this is the spot that you want to see it hold. Like, you don't want to see it dropping much below 850. So this is, you're again, same thing. It's weak. Coinbase is down a lot, so it's not surprising. However, I think the bigger talk is probably Bitcoin, right? Which is down 1.8. If Bitcoin rolls over and goes back towards the bottom of the trend of the channel, I would be very interested to see what CLSK does. I mean, as much as that sounds like, if that's what Bitcoin does, I would not be surprised, and I would actually expect a new low to be put in here somewhere in this range, depending upon how low Bitcoin goes. Based off what we're seeing, like it probably would drop under 8. Maybe you tag down into this area, into the 7 area, maybe just below $7. As much as that sucks, like from a long perspective, just based off what we're seeing, if Bitcoin continues to break down and fail to and fall down to lower 50s again, that chart is not strong. So we have relative weakness until that proves otherwise. That's what we can expect. So that's what I would see. That's what I see. Yeah, man, this is like one of those days. I mean, we'll probably cut off early because first off, we'll see what happens by 10 a.m. Eastern, and see what where that market goes. But there's not a lot that seemingly is driving things or moving things, and so you have 10 a.m. You got some stuff coming out. So yeah, we'll wait till 10 a.m. for sure and see what happens there. Yeah, so that'll be good. We'll give it to 10, and then if we get a kind of a decent move after 10 a.m. up or down, we'll have something to talk about. Maybe we'll have a better direction. But jumping back to SPY, like, you don't really have, I mean, you kind of are just doing the exact same thing that yesterday, well, kind of doing what yesterday did, and then just retracing yesterday's, bounce back. So it's not like that crazy. It had a really strong close yesterday. If you go back to that 5-minute chart from SPY yesterday, I mean, very strong close. But, right now you're kind of right. You just, all it did was it just had like a magnet right back to the mean of where we traded yesterday. It's like, oh, boom, right back into that zone. Okay, well, that's whatever. Not very interesting, to be honest, from an action perspective. I see. XBI. Potential for breakdown underneath this 97.50 for maybe a move back towards 95. But I mean, I don't know. I just, you would be fighting, you're fighting the trend to the upside. Now, can you draw the trend perfectly? Not really, but something along those lines. You can draw it from here even as well and catch a couple of levels. So you're kind of at what looks like a decent spot, depending upon how you want to draw the lines and stuff. If we're going to hold a trend line, which is not a very clear trend line, I wouldn't say this is a very valid level, but potentially a spot that we could see a reaction from. So if we break down here, could be a decent move down towards 95, maybe a little bit lower. 94, maybe. I'd say 95 is your better bets first, but then maybe it gets more. we'll see. That's just kind of, taking a look at biotechs. And overall, though, big picture, it's pretty strong. You want to just see it break out above 103, 60s. If it breaks that, very good looks for, 110, 120, even as crazy as that sounds, I think, on XBI at some point, maybe in the next couple of weeks and months. But I'd say weeks, probably, into end of year. There was a stat. Let me see if I can pull it up because it was a good one. Let me see if I can pull her up. Now, why am I logged out of X? Your likes are now private. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, once I can find this, it'll be good. Yeah, there it is. Let me pull him up. Ryan Detrick. Great follow, by the way. Okay. So what I saw was at some point yesterday. Check this out. Okay. S&P 500 up 20.8% heading into October. So that's a pretty impressive year, by the way. Could mean we finally see some red. October lower 7 of 9 times stocks were up 20% or more heading into the spooky month. Isn't a bad thing, though, as Q4 tends to still rally, and we'd expect this to play out again in 24. So it would be interesting. Based off the stats you're seeing here, on average, if the S&P is up a lot going into October, we tend to see a weaker month, on average being down 3% on the S&P. In this instances, this has happened the past 50, 60, 70 years now, I guess 70 years now. And then the Q4 return on average is up. So that would potentially be a good opportunity to buy the dip into end of year, in theory. However, I was also seeing this. Welcome to the best first 9 months ever in an election year. That's crazy. Damn. This is the best the market has done in the first 9 months, first 3 quarters, since 1950 in an election year. It's kind of cool. But like when you see that though, right? Like when I see like stats like that, I don't think immediately, oh man, means we have to go so much higher, or like it's a dip opportunity. To me, that sounds like, be more cautious in that environment. That's an interesting chart too. Disposable income. Wow, I'm surprised that's that strong. S&P up 2% or more in September and up 15% or more in the year end. Into October, Q4 is up 9 out of 10 times and up 6% on average. Last time was 2013, and we had a 10% Q4. Oh, we got an alert going off. Let's see what the alert said. ISRG. Must have been a spike. I don't know why that came off just now. That did not hit that did not hit my line, seemingly. Daily chart says yes, it did, but 5 minutes says we did not. So that's weird. Weird. Although not a bad looking chart though, big picture. Like if that could break through, that would be very interesting. I'll put it on my green list just so I have it in the back burner. They got earnings coming up in about 2 weeks, so I would be careful with that. Oil's having a really big day. Holy shit. Yeah, that's a big ass move off the open. Oil's going crazy. Funny how that was like a right into the level or the break below this level from like last week's low. You broke that overnight and then whew, massive recovery off that. So from the low earlier this morning, you have a move of 5.5% on oil. It's up almost 3% on the day. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, otherwise SPY's is going down so far off the morning. Yeah, we're approaching yesterday's low now. Yeah, I mean, it's just like annoying though when you have that type of action where like yesterday super strong close and then today at the open immediately give it all back. And then like what I would say would be annoying is if we have a bounce back up, it's like, oh my gosh. But I think what's really good about identifying this is it's a great identification of when and not to be forcefully doing anything. You know, things got to come to me. They got to fall into my lap here for me to be interested. Otherwise, we leave them alone. Let me go back and see how Netflix is doing. Nope, now Netflix is red. So, you know, part of the course, right? So we were saying, oh, maybe it looks pretty good a few minutes ago. And now it's like, yeah, no, it's red. My brother goes, just had about 5 pounds of lamb and chicken. My sister says, it's 9 a.m. He goes, free food from meetings, so it was offered. He's an absolute freak. 9 a.m. having fucking lamb and chicken, 5 pound, whatever the fuck he had. Kid's nuts. Kid is nuts. Packed up 2 plates, more of chicken, and Chick-fil-A minis for home. He's getting it done. He knows how to do it, though. No grocery shopping for the week. Taking full advantage. I love it. So we're having a 2% day. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in partaking in it if it can get up into here and give me a consolidation somewhere up in here. I'd be interested in it. Gold, on the other hand, let's see. Oh man, look at that gold move. Holy shit. Right back up. It's very close to high. Same thing, you know, if gold can give me a consolidation up in here, I'd be very interested in that. That's where the momentum is, man. Gold is where a lot of momentum has been. So I've had some successful trades on it lately. So yeah. I did miss. I had this breakout right here on the bigger time frames. And then, you know, pushed up. What I was looking at back at the time was a 4-hour time frame chart trade right here that I did see as an opportunity for a breakout and would have been really good. I just did not trade it at the time. I think it happened at like, yeah, it broke out at like midnight, between midnight and 2 a.m. or something like that. So I was sleeping, unfortunately. I've seen people who do that, and it is an interesting approach. Look at that. There's the Russell, by the way. Small caps week. Who will let the charts dictate their life almost, as in like when the charts are the charts, like they're up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I don't know, man, how much I like that. I don't have enough stats to tell me that I'm good during those hours. Haven't traded very much during those hours. But if I did, it would be on the bigger picture time frames. It would not be like a, you know, short-term day trade. It'd be like, you know, a 4-hour chart or higher. Yeah, it's a very big move on crude. We are 4 minutes away from ISM manufacturing, construction spending, and then job openings data. So I don't know how big this is going to move the markets, but it will move it a little bit, I would suspect. So we'll see what happens. My gut, based off of price action, I would not trade this way, but my gut says we're going to get a bounce back up, given how choppy the market has been. We sell off the open. My suspicion is that we will bounce back up off of the 10 a.m. news. We'll see how big of a bounce that is, and does it hold itself all day? I don't know, but that would be my suspicion. S&P small cap 600. That's a big time breakout spot. If that does break to the north, and we get a very nice couple of weeks or months in a row of push, small caps could be hot, like very hot. I mean, that would be really good stuff to see in the small cap line. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if that occurs, given how much they have not been able to keep up with the S&P and tech and stuff. We'll see, because they don't have to go up. But that's also what I would want to see from not a selfish perspective, because I don't have exposure to them really, but from a overall market perspective. We have seen the big move in the overall market. We've seen the big move in the S&P. We've seen the NASDAQ go. We've seen the Dow get all-time highs. Can we get a really nice, strong couple of months, I'd probably say. Couple of months. Can we get a really strong couple of months on small caps? And then that would make me feel like, okay, the market has kind of played the cycle out, meaning we've seen every sector rotation kind of go through, and every sector, or a lot of different sectors have been hot, and they've gotten, their couple of different runs. We've now gotten the small cap run. If we were to have a bigger pullback or correction or bear market, I wouldn't be surprised, and I would feel like, okay, we've done what we had to do. Now, does that mean we have to go down? No, but I would say if we get a very big small cap rally into year end or beginning of next year, if that does happen, then the high alert for a bigger picture market pullback starts to make more sense. I'd be on higher alert for that. Does that mean shorting the market? No. But wouldn't be surprised. Maybe want to secure some cash for dip buys. You know what I mean? All right, so 10 a.m. is coming out. Let's see. So far, reaction is negative, but we'll see. I'll pull up the data once I get it. I don't see anything yet. It dipped a little bit. Now it's bouncing back up. We'll see. The VIX is at a 3-week high. That's interesting. It's actually very interesting. All right, so we're bouncing back. It would not surprise me to see us back into the lower, 570s. What's SVIX looking like right now? The short to VIX, yeah. It's coming down a little bit. Nothing crazy. It's a decent down day, though, for the VIX. Or for the VIX, it's a decent update for the VIX, decent down day for SVIX. I would wonder, I'm not interested in that from my perspective, but it makes you wonder. I wonder if you think that this is maybe signaling something, or if maybe people are on a little bit of higher alert. I don't know. So ISM manufacturing comes out 47.2 versus a same number previous, and then estimate was 47.5, so pretty close. JOLTS job openings came in at 8040K versus 7673K previous in an estimate. So a little bit higher. So more job openings than estimated. U.S. construction spending came in at negative 0.1% versus negative 0.3 last month. And the estimate was 0.2. So a little bit lower there on the construction spending. Do these numbers tend to move the markets a lot? Not really, but they could move us a little bit. And you see a little bit of a, upper wick, lower wick action, kind of a doji action on SPY. So far, it hasn't done much. Maybe we have the push to the downside. Maybe this is not going to be enough to get us to feel good about whatever and move back up. Meta's still up 1% on the day. Pretty decent day on Meta, though, like holding up. I mean, Google was up more. It's given a lot of it back, kind of filling the gap back down. Apple, pretty surprising that that's down 3% after pretty much closing right at the breakout point, meaning like right near the highs of the past couple of weeks, 233 or so, and then kind of trying to seemingly in the after hours kind of inch a little bit higher, and then, sorry, we are not going yet. I think if this breaks clean, you have a very good chance, I mean, only has to go like $4 to make a new all-time high. I think you had a very good chance for a bigger move when the market seems, or when Apple's ready, which is not right now, apparently. So you had a few minutes, see what happens here, but otherwise, I think this will be coming to an end here today because I'm not very interested in anything I see. I have other work to do that I could be doing, and that makes more sense for me to be doing than looking at these charts, given how nothing is very interesting. Got alerts set. One of them went off seemingly by mistake. I don't think it should have gone off, but either way, that's not a chart to trade, so I will leave it alone. Roku has come back down to about where we closed yesterday, so it's pretty much flat on the day. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes red here soon. I'm not surprised by that, given the market's down today, although they had some price target upgrades. How much does that really matter? I don't think it matters that much in the grand scheme, but they can gap the stocks up and move the stocks up a little bit. It's why we gapped up to here, I believe, back on September 12th. And yeah, this might just take a month to play out, which would be interesting. I guess cool, whatever. That's what happens when you swing trade sometimes. Some of them take a couple of days, some of them take a couple of weeks, some will take a month. But yeah, that's really it. So I'm going to wrap things up. SPY's not moving much. That'll probably change shortly after I close down shop. But until we really start to break down with more authority or bounce back up and push out to new all-time highs, with more authority, more volume, more momentum across the board, which we are not really seeing, right? Like with the Apple rejection pretty hard. Meta's at all-time highs pretty much, but like Apple, you got some stocks going all-time highs, some stocks are not. So it's like you're not seeing a lot of consistency there. That said, I'm going to wrap things up. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow for a power hour stream. Will be the last one of the week because I'm flying to Vegas and we got to going out to California, running 50 miles on Saturday. So peace. Enjoy your